Hello everyone, welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C race review. We're in Group 3 machinery, we're at Lago Maggiore GP in reverse. And in the two races we're going to take a look at, I get myself into a couple of dangerous situations and my sportsmanship is called into question. So here is the settings for this week's race. Lago Maggiore GP2 in reverse. Just the racing hard tyre available, fuel at times free, tyre wear at times 7. Strategy actually a little bit more interesting than it would first appear over the 10 laps, with both the one stop and the no stop being absolutely viable. The no stop strategy a little bit quicker, the one stop strategy a little bit quicker than the no stop strategy, but obviously potentially compromised by traffic issues. So in the first race we're going to take a look at here, we're in the Toyota FT1 Vision Gran Turismo Group 3 car. Very good handling car for an FR car, so a good mix of good handling and that stability from the drivetrain makes this a very suitable choice for this race, and it's both good at doing both the non-stop and the one-stop. Now our qualifying time there, a 1:57.5, is deliberately been set a little bit slower than I can potentially go, just so I could start in the mid-pack and sort of hopefully get some interesting footage here. So the race kicks off. There is the danger of starting on those two hairpins. We started in P11, but we're straight up to P10 as the Beetle that started in front of us gets on the throttle a little bit too vigorously out the last corner and spins off to the right hand side. So an immediate position picked up, but the result of starting on the last couple of corners and that car getting out of the way means we were quite a long way behind P number 9, and we're going to jump forward here to the start of lap number 2, where we're going to make up our next position as Andy has some kind of instant into the double left-handers, picks up a penalty, makes a bit of a clumsy rejoin. Fortunately it stays ghosted, but that allows us to make up that position, and we're up into P number 9 as we'll now jump forward to the end of lap number 3, because that's how long it took us to catch up with P number 8, who's in a bit of a tussle with a Toyota Supra, I do believe. So they're going to start holding each other up and allow us to close up through these opening corners of lap number 4. So the car in front of us, also in the FT1, is going to go for a bit of an optimistic move into the second of the left-handers here. There is definitely a space left by the Supra, but it does look very much to me like the Frenchman forced the issue. That does compromise the Spaniard in the Supra, gives us a rundown into the fast left-hander. Not a great overtaking opportunity, but you can see from the radar there that we definitely were far enough ahead. And in the sort of second part of that corner, the Spanish driver just kind of forces the issue, then brakes very early for the hairpin, which that was more of an avoidant action than an overtaking attempt. But we are through. The Spaniard, for his troubles, has picked up a 3-second penalty. I think 1 second of that did come from the Frenchman, 2 seconds from me. We've now got the run on the pole sitter down into this fast left, right, left sequence. We go for a bit of a run down the outside, we back out just a little bit too late, but the Spaniard in the Supra has also kind of forced the issue, kind of knocked me off to the left hand side of the track, and we lose a bit of time as we try to recover. Not an ideal situation. I think I maybe left the car in just a bit too long against the Audi, but the Spanish driver in the Supra was taking no prisoners or avoiding measures for anyone. I think it's fairly safe to say he did actually pick up an extension to his penalty in that process as well. As he serves that 4.5 second penalty, we take up that position and we're up into P number 8. But we have lost quite a lot of time to the Audi driver that we were obviously battling with halfway through that lap. So we'll jump forward here to lap number 8. We've actually made a pit stop on lap number 5. Shout out to TGL Vegas 45 here. I do believe he comments in some of my videos. Nice to be in a race with this driver. Unfortunately he's picked up a 1 second penalty for some reason or whatever. Serves that in the penalty zone, allows us to make the overtake. But yep, he said hello in the sort of post-race chat. So nice to see you within a race. I've seen you in a few other races as well. I was racing in some of them I was just watching, and I was seeing that driver pick up some good results. So we'll jump forward here. No, we're not going to jump forward here, we're actually going to stay on board as we come out the last corner to complete lap number 8. And we can see that a car in front of us has made a pit stop. Bit of a strange time to make a pit stop on lap number 8, coming out on fresh tyres for just the 2 laps. Got a bit of a strange line coming out of the pit lane here. It does mean you're slow into the first corner. We get a better run out in the drag up the hill. We're side by side into here, but we are far enough ahead to make the move. It's another driver in a Toyota FT1. Now, I did expect to come under quite a lot of pressure from this driver over the last 2 laps, given that we are now on tyres that are 4 laps old. But we did seem to have a very good pace, and we were able to keep the German driver behind us. And we're actually going to set a 158.5, which is not a bad lap time for tyres that have done 5 laps. Obviously the fuel's a good bit lower. And we're going to bring this one home in 6th place. We did start in 11th. We had that little bit of an incident with the Audi driver, the German. Not so much that driver's fault, more the Spaniard and the Supra, who I'm going to assume was a little bit miffed at what happened earlier, picking up that penalty. But no real harm done. Not a bad drive from 11th to 5th. So we did enter the race immediately after, starting this one down in 13th position, but feeling a little bit more warmed up, certainly over the first few laps of the first race we did there. Certainly it didn't feel quite on top of the car and the combination, but by the end of the race we were certainly lapping where we would expect to be lapping. So coming out of the last corner again, just got traction control on there as you come through those corners, just gives you a little bit of a safety net when you hit the throttle, obviously with the cold tyres. But you can see that gap there, just because we start on those corners and the cars in front of us don't really. We're 1.4 seconds behind the car in front of us going into the first corner, which is not ideal, but just one of these things on the rolling starts in Gran Turismo Sport. But we do catch up quite quickly with a Spaniard and a Supra. That is a different Spaniard and a different Supra than the driver who caused us a few issues in the last race, thankfully. It does brake pretty early here for this left-hander. We were really intending going for the overtake, but it did brake so early that we just slung it down the inside anyway. And thankfully that driver did also see us go for the move, and you'll see he took a little bit of a jink to the right, so good awareness from the Spaniard and the Supra there, unlike the Spaniard and the Supra in the last race. And also another Supra driver, as we shall see in this video as it progresses. So jumping forward here to lap number 2, we've caught up with P9 and 10. We've got a Beetle Hunter 3300 in that car, and a Dutchman, I do believe, SHJ 991. So they've been having a bit of a battle for about half a lap that I've been behind them, costing each other time, costing me a little bit of time. We get on the throttle just a bit too heavily there, come out the last corner, try and get some drive to maybe go for a move into turn number 1, but it's not to be, so we settle back into the slipstream here of the Beetle and see if we can get a better run out of turn number 1. Everybody gets through that corner pretty cleanly though. Hunter going a little bit wide there, but I don't think wide enough to compromise his tyres grip into this next corner. And all looks pretty good here. Now there's a bit of a strange incident is about to happen here. I'm not entirely sure what goes on, but there is a car going very slow up ahead there. It is Andy that we've seen in the last race. So everybody tries to sort of take avoiding action. Everybody gets on the brakes. There's no contact from what I can see, although Andy does pick up a 4-second penalty, which I'm not sure for. He then quits the race. Hunter brakes really early into the hairpin, so we kind of sling it up the inside. You can see we make the apex no problem, and we leave space on the inside. And I'm thinking we're in a pretty good situation here. We've got ahead of those two drivers. Then we've got the Dutchman and the Supra in our slipstream here down into this sequence where it is just almost impossible to go side by side. So I'm watching him, I'm thinking there's no way he's going to go for that move. But we realised just a little bit too late he is going to go for the move. And we tried to give him space. He didn't really give us any kind of option. He understeers into us, puts us off the track. Unfortunately we do make contact with Hunter, but we don't ruin his race, thankfully. Just a bit of contact, we don't spin him out. But it did leave us in pretty bad shape. So let's take a look at this from the Supra's point of view. There's just no way that he's going to be able to take that corner at any kind of speed that he tries to with that line. Now it doesn't look so bad from his point of view because I kind of jinked to the right to try and give him a little bit of space. But let's take a look at it from Hunter's point of view, who's on the normal line for the corner. You can see we give the Supra plenty space ahead, and the Supra's just going to understeer. There's the contact made there. So the Supra was never making the corner in a sort of sensible line, but he's used our car to kind of fix the direction of his car. You can see the contact that we make with Hunter there. Thankfully, as I said, not costly for that driver. But yeah, very, very, very stupid overtaking attempt by the Supra driver, I have to say. I do apologise if that sounds a bit harsh and insultive, but I was very, very annoyed with that one, I have to say, because there's no way you can go into that corner from that angle and not slow down much more than what the Supra driver did. So yeah, I was pretty miffed with that one. Anyway, back to the racing. We did make a pit stop at the end of lap number 3, and we are plumb last behind Thesis here in the white Porsche. So we've got the fresh tyres on here. I can see I'm a lot quicker than this driver, and we're probably a little bit annoyed from what's happened, and we're going to sling it down the inside here. Now it looked like a perfectly good move to me. Thesis did brake quite early. We're on better tyres. Probably a disparity in speed as well, if you like, in terms of drivability, without trying to sound too big-headed. I thought that was a pretty legitimate move to go for. However, you can see in the post-race chat that Thesis is not very happy and is going to report me. And then he kind of follows that up with calling me a dirty ramming cheat, which can hurt a Womble's feelings a little bit, I have to say. So let's take a look at it and see if we are a dirty ramming cheat. Now we'll just pause the footage here. I think it's safe to say we are fully alongside Thesis into the turning part of this corner, and Thesis just turns into us. It's actually the front of his car that makes contact with the rear of my car. Yeah, I don't think I'm a dirty ramming cheat from that one. We'll look at it from Thesis' point of view. We were certainly more than alongside his car into the sort of turning part of the corner. I think he just didn't know we were there. He's tried to turn into the corner as if we weren't. So yeah, I don't think I'm a dirty ramming cheat going from that, but you can decide from the footage. Let me know in the comments what you think of that one. So the recovery drive was underway with the move on Thesis. We make up a further position as the South African exits stage right. Just clips the grass on that section of the track. Very easy to do. I think it's an accident we've all done. The next position we make up is we fire it down the inside of the Beetle into the left-hander there. It doesn't make it very difficult for us. He has got a run here on the slipstream, and I'm going to realise that when I'm on this side of the track for this corner, I have no idea where my braking marker is, and we're going to go way too deep. Thankfully we managed to keep it on the track. We're still got the inside line for this corner on the Beetle, and it's we made that move a lot more difficult than it should have been, to be honest with you. So a lesson for me to learn is to try and next time I am on that section of track, or next time I race, is to find a braking point, because it's going to cause me a few problems a little bit later on in this race as well. So up to 12th position we are. A few drivers making some pit stops. We have made our pit stop, obviously doing a much longer stint on this second set of tyres than we were on the first one. We did pit at the end of lap 3, so we're allowed to get 7 laps out of these this second set of tyres, which the car is more than capable of doing. Quite good actually, the FT1 for a no stop. I think I was able to keep it in the 59s when I raced on the Womble skipper account in this car. Starting off in the 58s and finishing in the 59s doing the non-stop. So we're behind Robin Raikkonen in the Aston Martin, the Czech driver. Much better grip, down into the hairpin, classic overtaking manoeuvre. You think he knew it was coming, obviously just stayed to the left hand side and let us chuck it down the inside. Good sensible driving from that driver. Do have to go a little bit defensive here down towards the S's and the sweeping fast corners, but you can see he backs out of it. Again, seems to be a fairly sensible driver. And always nice to see a driver who's kind of using a little bit of racecraft, if you like. So now in 10th position as we jump forward here to lap number 8, and we have caught back up with the two drivers. Well, I say the two drivers, one of the drivers who caused us the problems. We're behind Hunter 3300 and the Dutchman in the Supra, who went for that very silly move in my opinion. So it does look like these two drivers have been battling the entire race now. I'm not entirely sure what their strategy was here. I've got a funny feeling we're both doing the no-stop. Now the German in the green FT1 behind me, he is just out the pits. So I know he's got much better tyres than me. So my plan here was, if he goes for the move, was definitely not to make it too difficult for him, and then maybe use him as he tries to pass these two drivers to find my way through them as well. Obviously we've seen from earlier on that the Super driver is certainly not willing to give up his position very easily, and we get a run on Hunter here. I'm going to go, this is a bit of an opportunistic move. I would never really try this move because the result of what happens here is always pretty much what's going to happen. Hunter understeers into us, sends a little bit wide. That does allow the FT1, the German and the FT1 to go up the inside there, which was always kind of the plan, to be perfectly honest with you. And we'll see if we can follow him through these two drivers now. Yeah, so Trying to go around the outside of those two left-handers are pretty much always going to result in what we've seen happening to the outside car there. The inside car will just understeer a little bit, there'll be a slight bit of contact, and if you've got a car behind you, there's a very good chance that you, whilst going for an overtake, all you'll do is end up costing yourself a position. So down into the sweeping S's here. Good to see Hunter actually backs out of that move against the German. It was the sensible thing to do, because it's just no point going side by side with another driver down through this section of the track. We've already seen that it doesn't work a couple of times in my races, and obviously I sort of came off worst in both occasions. Thinking about going for the move there down the inside into the left-hander, but Hunter sees it coming, so we'll try and get a better run here, get in the slipstream and see if we can pull out of the slipstream and dive down to into the right-hander, sorry, the left-hander here. So Hunter does go defensive. We decide we're coming through anyway. We use a little bit of the grass. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we have a little bit of a problem about where to brake into that corner when on that side of the track. So that is something I'm going to study before I do any more races at this track, because that has definitely cost me, well, it certainly cost me that overtake. Hunter's back through, and it definitely cost me time a couple of occasions in this race. So always try to learn from your mistakes, obviously. But we're still in this fight with Hunter. On to the last lap we go. He's definitely seems to be struggling with his tyre, so I'm going to guess he has done the no stop here. We're going to get a similar run out of turn number 1 like we did on the last lap, and we're going to go down the outside here again of the first of the left-handers, but thankfully on this occasion we do learn our lesson. We just decided to brake a little bit early, rely on our better tyres, and just flip it back up the inside for the second left-hander. So that is up into P number 9 here. You can see how much time that battle with Hunter has cost us to the two cars in front. We're a good 2.1, 2.2 seconds behind. Obviously the German in the FT1 has caught up with the Supra on the much better tyres, and they're going to battle all the way down through the S's. We're catching up fast. Fire still trying to go around the outside here of the Supra into the left-hander. There's going to be a little tiny bit of contact. Fire's going to catch the grass on the outside, and that is a very, very easy accident to have. So that makes us up into P number 8, which is a little bit of a shame for the German driver. And we're going to get very, very close to this Supra, as I said. Caused us the problems earlier on in the race before we get to the finishing line, but unfortunately doesn't look like we're going to be close enough to make any kind of sensible move. We get really close into the braking zone. I try to give him a little bit of a fright into the last corner by chucking it towards the inside, but he holds his nerve, gets on the throttle properly, and we're going to finish with a couple of attempts behind the Dutchman. I'd love to have got past them though after what happened earlier on in the race, but not to be in this one, unfortunately. But 8th after what happened to us, because we did lose probably about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 seconds in that instant. We were last at one point at the start of lap number 4, so recovering up to P number 8 is not too bad a recovery drive at the end of the day, so I was fairly pleased with that one. So not the sort of most tidy races, if you like. Sometimes that's what's going to happen when you start in the mid-pack. Obviously I knew I was going to be faster than some of those drivers because I hadn't sort of set a representative qualifying time, but it does make for some good action, certainly for watching. Sometimes, you know, I guess races when you're at the front or fighting for podiums, there's not a lot going on. There's a bit of tension, I suppose, could be quite interesting. Anyway, hopefully these have entertained you. I do apologise maybe for a slightly rushed commentary in this one. I've had to do it pretty much all in one take, kind of short of time, just try to get this video out. Right now I've got to go off and start making the strategy guide for tomorrow. So one last thing to say, do hit that like button, do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you tomorrow for a strategy guide around Dragon Trail Seaside in the Group 4 machinery. Goodbye now.